You won't believe what just happened in the gospel world. A storm is brewing online, and it all started with one unexpected, emotional, and deeply raw live video. When gospel singer Andria Johnson went live, clearly under the influence, her unfiltered outburst shocked millions. But it's what came next that truly set the internet on fire: Juanita Bynum's bold and brutally honest reaction. Trust me, this isn't your average church drama. This clash isn't about petty feuds or jealous competition. It's about something deeper: the hidden cost of spiritual leadership, the mental toll of gospel fame, and the thin line between ministry and meltdown. What Wanita Binham had to say sent shockwaves through the gospel community, and now fans, artists, pastors, even secular voices, are all chiming in. Some say Wanita was right to speak truth to power. Others say she threw a hurting sister under the bus. But either way, her words have started a conversation that we can't ignore. One that goes far beyond two women. This is about the state of modern ministry, celebrity preachers, mental health, and the real pressure behind the praise. So stick around, because we're breaking down every angle of this spiritual firestorm. It all started on a quiet night, like any other. Social media users were casually scrolling when suddenly, a notification popped up: Andria Johnson is live. The Grammy-winning gospel artist, known for her incredible voice and emotional worship performances, had hit the Go Live button on Instagram, and what followed was nothing short of explosive. Andria appeared on screen clearly intoxicated. She was emotional, unfiltered, and had a bottle in hand. But what truly caught viewers off guard was the pain in her voice and the depth of her frustration. She didn't come to sing. She came to speak, and what she said revealed a painful, ongoing battle with the very industry that once celebrated her. "I'm tired of faking it," she said. "I'm tired of pretending I'm okay when I'm not." She called out church politics, the hypocrisy in leadership, and the crushing expectations placed on her as a gospel artist. For many watching, it was shocking. But for others, it was refreshingly honest. This wasn't just a drunken rant, it was a public emotional breakdown, and it caught the gospel world completely off guard. Within minutes, clips spread across TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Reactions were swift. Some fans offered love and prayer. Others criticized her for embarrassing the gospel community. But here's the thing: this wasn't Andria's first time expressing pain. She's spoken before about feeling like a puppet, used for her gift but abandoned when she showed weakness. She's battled addiction, mental health challenges, and rejection, all while ministering to millions. Still, this video felt different. It was raw, unfiltered, and painfully transparent. It was a woman of God at her limit. And just when the dust was starting to settle, another voice entered the conversation, one that no one could ignore. Wanita Bynum, legendary preacher, prophetess, and author of No More Sheets, went live with a message of her own. While she never mentioned Andria's name directly, everyone knew exactly who she was referring to. "I'm watching some things on social media," Wanita began, her tone controlled but intense. "And I see people calling it ministry, but it's not ministry. It's a mess. And it needs to stop." Boom. Just like that, the conversation shifted. Wanita continued, "There is a standard. I don't care who you are, if you say God called you, there is a standard. And if you're out here drunk and crying and cursing on live, maybe it's time to sit down and get healed before you get on another stage." Her words cut deep, not just because they were sharp, but because they came from someone who had been through the fire herself. Wanita has a history of public struggles, an abusive marriage, mental health battles, and even stepping away from ministry to heal. So for her to speak this boldly, People paid attention. She didn't stop there. Juanita called out the celebrity culture that has infiltrated the church. Ministry is not entertainment, she said. When you start performing your pain instead of processing it with God, you're damaging more people than you're helping. She also touched on the dangerous impact of emotional instability being glamorized on social media. Young women are watching you, she said. They don't know whether to follow your anointing or excuse your addiction. We have a responsibility. Some saw her comments as a wake-up call. Others said it was a public rebuke lacking grace. One fan commented, "Juanita's telling the truth. Enough of this watered-down gospel. Accountability is not abuse." Another wrote, "This ain't love. This is judgment." Didn't Juanita go through her own mess? Where's the compassion? And just like that, the gospel community was split down the middle. Within hours of Juanita's live, the internet exploded. You had people taking sides. On one side were Juanita's supporters, mostly older, traditional churchgoers and leaders, who applauded her for standing firm in holiness. They said her message was needed in an age where anything goes in ministry. She's not judging, she's correcting, one popular gospel blog posted. She's holding the line. If you're bleeding, go get healed, don't bleed on the people. But then came Andria's defenders, and they came with passion. Fans flooded Twitter and Instagram with messages of support. Some posted prayer hands, others posted fiery messages about church hurt, hypocrisy, and how the gospel community often abandons its own. James Fortune, a Grammy-nominated artist, tweeted, "Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is show your weakness. Andria, we love you. We got you." Other artists made cryptic posts about compassion over condemnation. Even some pastors chimed in, saying the church has a toxic pattern of demanding perfection while ignoring emotional pain. One pastor said, "We shout over people's anointing but are silent about their agony." Then came the receipts. People began pulling up old footage, interviews, and sermons from both Juanita and Andria. They reminded Juanita of her emotional breakdowns, her past relationship scandals, and the time she took a break from ministry to recover. "Don't act brand new," one tweet said. "We've all seen you cry on stage. Have grace." On the flip side, Andria's past arrests, rehab stints, and outbursts were also reposted, with critics saying she's had too many second chances. But underneath all the noise, a deeper, more painful truth began to emerge. This wasn't just about two women in the gospel spotlight. This moment peeled back the curtain on mental health in ministry, an issue that's been swept under the rug for far too long. Why is it so hard for pastors, preachers, and gospel artists to get real help? Why do they have to act perfect while suffering silently? And why does the church so often confuse emotional burnout with spiritual weakness? One Christian therapist went live on Instagram and said, "What we saw with Andria wasn't rebellion. It was burnout, trauma, and emotional neglect. She doesn't need rebuke, she needs care. She needs therapy, not trending topics." That sentiment resonated deeply with a younger generation of believers, especially those who've left the church because of toxic expectations. Survivors of church trauma began sharing their stories. One woman wrote, "I used to serve on the worship team. I smiled every Sunday while battling depression. When I finally broke down, they told me to just pray more. No one ever said, 'Maybe you need counseling.'" The entire situation opened up a long overdue dialogue about emotional exhaustion, trauma, church culture, and the desperate need for a safer space within ministry. Eventually, Andria returned to social media. She didn't name names, but her words spoke volumes. Everybody's got something to say. But unless you've walked a mile in my shoes, unless you've cried the tears I cried in silence while people shouted my name in public, don't come for me. I'm not perfect. But I'm real. And maybe that's what they can't handle. The message hit home. Her supporters rallied. Her critics grew louder. But one thing was certain, Andria's pain was real. And now, so was the conversation. So where do we go from here? This wasn't just about Andria's drunk live video. And it wasn't just about Juanita's response. This was a mirror held up to the gospel community, forcing us to ask some hard questions. White heavy checkmark, can we have both anointing and authenticity? White heavy checkmark, can we correct without condemning? White heavy checkmark, can we create safe spaces for leaders to heal before they minister? Because if we can't, then what are we really doing? Whether you agree with Juanita or you stand with Andria, one thing is clear: ministry without mercy becomes performance. And performance without healing leads to collapse. Maybe what the gospel world needs isn't more viral videos, but more real conversations. What do you think? Was Juanita right to speak out the way she did? Or should she have shown more compassion? Did Andria need correction, or just care? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss stories like this, real, raw, and unfiltered.